everybody. This is Brian Finnerty from Macabre Daily, specifically the Skeletons in the Closet column, where we like to dig deep into the back dark corners of our wardrobe to explore all things queer about the horror genre. I have a perfect guest for that topic. I'm very excited to be talking with Sara Van Os about her new book, her first debut book, Decomposition Book. Welcome, Sarah. How you doing?
Hi. I'm good. How are you?
I am very, very good. Thanks for asking.
hmm
And before we get into anything, I need to tell you I love your shirt.
Thank you. Yeah, I figured it was on brand for today.
Absolutely. I feel like it's one of my favorite things about talking to horror people is that I feel like we, maybe more than any other fandom, have like the most amazing collection of just random graphic tees and movie t-shirts and stuff.
Yeah, like weird wardrobe. I mean, I usually dress like the lesbian trad wife of the future, but because I have a lot of like fun little like 40s style dresses.
Mhm.
But yeah, I'm leaning into all things.
Mhm. Well, that's kind of like the vibe of your book. I feel like it's combining the really macabre with the more traditional and lovely and romantic side of things. That was like one of my favorite things about it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I mean, I guess just to start off, before we dive too much into your work, I'd love to just get a sense of the people that we're talking to.
hmm
Um, do you mind just telling us a little bit about you and how did you get into the book world? How did you start reading and writing?
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily remember how I got into reading and writing. I think it was
Mhm.
like one of like my first memory, I think, is like tracing like my mom had like fridge magnets and one like she had spelled my name out in fridge magnets because she was
Uh-huh.
trying to like teach me how to like read and write and everything. And I remember like tracing the S with like
Okay.
my hand. Like I remember watching my hand trace the S when I was really small.
Mhm.
So I think that like books have been a really important books and stories in particular have been a really important part of my life ever since I was conscious. Ever since I figured out that writer was a job that you could have, that's the job that I wanted. So, I've been in it kind of my whole life. I was really superstitious about joining like Bookstagram, Book Talk, those things
Mhm.
before I had a book deal, which is why I've kind of like popped up out of nowhere to a lot of people.
Okay.
Book account wise, I didn't do the social media aspect very much because I was just like, I don't want to join until I'm real. Weird to like see yourself as real or not real. But I see like
God,
the
especially online. Like what the
yeah,
hell is real in an online world, right?
yeah, who's real, what's genuine, what's even, But I was really superstitious about it, but I have been reading and writing my whole life. I wrote my first full-length novel when I was 14,
Mhm.
and I'm 29 now, just turned 29, and I wrote this book when I was about like 26, 27. And well, I sold it when I was 27, so I wrote it when I was like 26. And then it's my fifth book. So, definitely not a first book. I think that this one would be a really hard first book to attempt. Like I had the idea in my mind for a while before I attempted it
Mhm.
because I was just like, I want to make sure that I really think this one through. There's just a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of things that could go horribly wrong,
Oh,
and I wanted
absolutely.
it to be first out because I thought that the idea was special.
Okay.
So I was like, I'm gonna be careful with it. Yeah.
That's I love these little peeks behind the curtain. So t tell me if I'm misunderstanding, but you're saying you wrote books before this, but this is the first one you're consciously publishing and putting this one out into the world first. Is that right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because I kind of like I saw like I want a career so bad
Mhm.
that I was like I'm taking zero chances. I'm only going to put out a book when I am 100% that the book I'm putting out is a book that I think a lot of people could love.
Hmm.
A book that I love, most importantly, and something that I think is like could be definitive of a style that I'm going to stick with for the rest of my career. I think that's important because I think when you're writing your first book, like my first book has no semblance of who I am as a writer now. There's
Hmm.
like it's a different person. It's like literally like if you looked at a picture of me as a baby, you wouldn't recognize that it was me.
Yeah.
And my first book was very much that. Like it was like a really shitty fantasy. And I am not a fantasy writer and hopefully not a shitty writer. So yeah, and then my second couple of books, I wrote like a dystopian trilogy. I count those as one book,
Yeah.
but yeah, it was like during the time of the Hunger Games and
Hmm.
like Divergent and all of those, like when we had endless dystopian trilogies coming
Yeah.
out. That was when I was in like high school. So I wrote that next, and then after that, I was like starting to get into like weird mental health, like literary fiction, but
Hmm.
that didn't feel like 100% right. I wrote two books in that realm. And then when I finally got to decomposition book, I think is when like the the like horror aspect clicked for me. Like
Okay.
I read in a lot of horror. My favorite genre is pretty much the genre I write is like weird sapphic horny horror, you know.
I
Um
love that we have gotten to a point where we have subgenres that
mhm.
specific too.
Yeah, we have horny horror now, which I love. I'm thrilled about that. And like I wanted to write the weirdest books possible, but in order to write the weirdest books possible, you need practice.
Yeah.
So I was
I
scared.
love the idea that you're teasing this whole like back catalog of I'm sure they're wonderful, but I'm going to use your word shitty writing, which one day hopefully if we all do our job right and get you out there, people are going to be like studying your first fantasy novel in an archive one day.
No, the only copy of that book that exists is in a closet in my mom's house in California. Yeah, it's the only copy of it. I'll probably scan it to myself at one point and like have
Yeah.
it buried with me. I don't know. But it's
That's
yeah.
a beautiful fate for it as well.
hmm
Feels very, I don't know you that well, but it feels very fitting for you. Bury you with your first novel.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't necessarily want to be buried with a novel. I want to be buried with my wife's ashes because she wants to be cremated. But
Okay.
I think that if I don't decompose, it's like completely off brand. Like, what do you mean I'm not going to decompose? No, I have to. I have to. So
Yeah, you
I would like
kind
to
of written
get,
yourself into a corner with this book.
yeah,
Yeah.
100%. I mean, ideally, I would like to publicly decompose, but no, I want to be not embalmed and make sure that I'm very thoroughly naturally
Mhm.
decomposing. And I would like my wife's ashes sprinkled in with me so that we can become soup. Very gross soup.
I love this. And you've already given me like five quotes that I'm gonna have to like agonize over when I'm writing up the article for this interview. I'm like, which of the weird things that she said am I gonna pull out and put in the first paragraph? This is a good problem to have.
Amazing. Incredible. I'd rather have too many weird quotes than too few.
Uh, I also feel like as you were saying that this, while your first published novel was not your first book, I feel like
hmm
I heard this collective sigh of relief from writers all over the world because as I was reading this book, I was like, this book is fucking fantastic for a first novel. Are you kidding me? She just like came out and just wrote this. So I know I feel better, and I'm sure many other people do too.
Yeah, no, it's not a first novel. I don't think that anybody could do this for a first novel. I wouldn't recommend it. I mean, even as a fifth novel, I had to stretch my brain for this one. Like I really had to look at the idea and be like, okay, how the fuck am I going to do this? And I also like because I have OCD and because I have the type of OCD that's represented in the book,
Hmm.
which is called pure OCD. It's like
Hmm.
OCD that doesn't come with a lot of physical compulsions. Usually when we think of OCD proper, you think of like I'm washing my hands 15 times because
Hmm.
the number 15 and I need it to be clean, that kind of thing. But a lot of people have very interior OCD that's like super
Hmm.
common type that's super underrepresented. And pure OCD is just that. It's basically that your mind is a customized VR like torture chamber type of
Hmm.
experience. And it loops constantly, and your compulsions are in your head for the most
Hmm.
part. It's like you see Savannah in these like giant spirals, and a lot of times she's not doing anything. Like she's not getting up and going to the sink and washing her hands and going back and
Yeah.
moving. She's not really doing anything. She's just sort of paralyzed inside of her brain, and her
Yeah.
brain is doing a lot.
To
And
watch her from the outside.
mhm.
Yeah, you would just think, oh, this person's maybe a little quiet, or they're
Right.
just a little reserved.
Yeah, she's just like curled up, but
Hmm.
you don't know that she's just like completely locked down within herself. And that's an experience that I've had many times throughout my life, especially before I was diagnosed. It
Hmm.
takes a long time, often, especially women with this type of OCD to get diagnosed because people will be like, "Oh, you're just anxious." Like when you're a teenager, people are like, "Oh, you're just a teenage girl. Like you just all teenage girls are like this."
You're
And
just
it's
supposed
teenage,
to have a lot
yeah,
on your mind and be multitasking constantly.
yeah, and be like, like that's just being a teenage girl or a young woman in the world.
Hmm.
Being really paranoid about things. But no, a lot of people have this specific type of OCD and it's hard to diagnose and it is interior and can be debilitating. And I really wanted like the horror of this book to come from that. Every time
Hmm.
somebody was like, oh, like every time my editor was like, I want it to be scarier,
Hmm.
I made the OCD more realistic. And it was just like, I think that people would expect, like, oh, scarier, make the dead body scarier, or
Yeah.
scarier, make the woods scarier. And I really wanted, like, the woods are scary on their own,
Hmm.
that's just default scary. If you're lost in the woods, that's fucking not fun. And the horrors of the real world are like scary enough.
Yeah.
And yeah, but I wanted the OCD to be the thing that's scary. Like the idea
Hmm.
of being trapped in a brain that is like this to be the
Yeah.
thing that is scary because it is scary. Like it's scary sometimes for me in the middle of the night to be like, oh shit, like I can't leave. There's
Hmm.
no there's no escaping from within yourself. And I think that that's one of the scariest things that we experience, not to be all we as humans, but
Hmm.
yeah, it's one of the scariest parts of being a person is being trapped within your own brain and your own fears. And I
Oh,
wanted that to be the horror of it.
absolutely. No, and I like genuinely I appreciate you being so authentic in the interview and also in the book. Um, I think I mentioned this in some of our emails setting this up that when I'm not doing interviews like this, my day job is I work as a therapist. And so I really especially appreciate what you're saying about how underdiagnosed the more pure OCD, where it is just thoughts, is because I see that all the time.
Yeah.
People just don't even realize whenever something internally is happening, people
Hmm.
don't realize, oh, that's not just how everybody's brain works. Like until a certain
Yeah.
point, until somebody points it out, and we're like,
Well,
no,
yeah.
that's actually a diagnosable disorder. We can treat
Mhm.
that.
Yeah, and it's like you've only experienced your own head,
Mhm.
like a person can be an unreliable narrator just as much as a fictional character can. Like if you look at somebody who's mentally ill, they're basically just like an unreliable narrator to themselves. And like, yeah, like you were saying, when my therapist diagnosed me, she was just like, "Oh, if you heard of OCD?" And I was like, "Yeah, I don't have that. Like,
Mhm.
I'm
Yeah.
not like super clean, Like I wash my hands like a regular person, like after I go to the bathroom or something." And she's like, "Yeah, that's not all it is." So like like you're a pretty clean cut case of OCD. And I was like, no, I'm not. And and you like, I'm sure as a therapist, you have these arguments with people all the time where they're like, no, this is just me being like quirky.
Yes. Honestly,
Yeah.
that's the good, it's a challenging part of the job, but that's the good part when you can offer someone some relief and an explanation.
Yeah.
The sadder part is when you have to break the opposite news, where you're like, no, I'm sorry, you're not mentally ill. That's just life. That's just what life is like. That's
Yeah.
rough.
Yeah. No, it's like it's so funny. Like that's one of the parallels that I've seen with like doctors in both physical and mental illness is
Mhm.
like it's like I have Crohn's disease and
Mm.
I've had it my whole life and I was in and out of hospitals for it my whole life, but I wasn't diagnosed until earlier this year.
Okay.
Which is crazy, but my whole life they were like, that's just how life is, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
That's just how stomachs are. And it can be like both mentally and physically. Like people underestimate the power of a diagnosis because once you know what something is,
Mhm.
then you're like, okay, like even if it's like you're going to have it forever, like
Yeah.
OCD I'm going to have forever, Crohn's I'm going to have forever, but there's things that you can do about it when you know what it is. And I'm one of my goals with this book actually, like I've already gotten a couple of messages from people that are like, oh shit, I think I'm actually going to go get checked out
Oh,
for OCD
that's
because
amazing.
my yeah, and like that was incredible. Like that's one of my goals, and I really that's one of the reasons it was really really important for me to make the OCD as accurate as possible. I wrote this
Mhm.
book off my meds.
Okay.
I don't know if I would recommend that. I didn't necessarily do it on purpose. I just had been
Don't
doing
try this at home,
don't
right?
try this at home, kids. Stay on your SSRIs. But during like the time that I was like writing this book, I was just kind of raw dogging the OCD, mostly because I
Mhm.
didn't have health insurance at the time.
Oh God.
And
A
I
whole nother
like,
tangent we could go down. That's
yeah,
another
oh,
horror novel right there.
you're like, yeah. Um, that's gonna be a little bit embedded in my next one. Not a lot, but a little bit. Because my next one is a little bit of like a capitalism one, but yeah, no, the I was like off my meds for that and kind of assuming that it was fine.
Mhm.
But after and I had been fine, I had been really doing well in therapy. And then, ironically, after I got the book deal and entered the editing phase of this novel,
Mhm.
like the act of getting a book deal, like broke something within
Yeah,
me. And I was like, oh shit. And my OCD suddenly got so bad. And I think it was because, like, I finally had something that I wanted
sure.
forever. Like, I finally had the thing that I had been sitting around in the dark scheming to get for like 18 years, you know?
Yeah.
And the OCD loves to take a positive thing and be like, you're gonna lose it. So I was like, okay, good news. I'm
Mhm.
editing this book. I'm just gonna pour all of this excessive OCD into there. Little cup to put it in. And then after about 6 months of that, I went back on my meds and gave up. But
Good for you. I'm glad.
yeah, yeah,
Um, Honestly, I one of the things I really liked about your book was, I'm sure you know better than anybody, just how common and popular it is to be like the demon is a metaphor for depression, right? The possession was a metaphor for your social anxiety. That's wonderful. There's amazing stories doing that, but
100%.
your book literally just makes it real and literal, right? Like this, no, this is just a character who has OCD, and that is part of the story. It's baked into it, but it's not a metaphor. It's not a symbol. It is part of Savannah's character, and
Yeah,
that kind of representation is, the same as lesbian representation, queer representation, racial diversity representation. It's so important for people to read. And yeah, it doesn't surprise me that you've had people reaching out, just I'm sure just being very, very thankful for like seeing themselves reflected in your characters.
yeah, that's been like the best thing. And I'm also winning my bet with my wife because I based Ava entirely off of my wife. And because she's autistic and
Okay.
she part of like her like one of her biggest like fears that comes with her autism is that she thinks that the autism makes her unlikable. And I was like, I am just gonna write a fictional character based entirely off of you, just how I see you out in the world, and then we'll let the Goodreads people decide. And
Oh,
you
and I'm
know
sure
what?
everybody's in love with Ava, right?
Everyone's in love with Ava. There are so many Savannah haters, which I expected, but I also wanted there to be Savannah haters because I think
Mhm.
that that's, you know, a lot of the point of her character is that like OCD is annoying, isn't it? People are like Savannah's annoying. Being inside her head is annoying. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yes, it is. That's the point. That's the goal. Thank you for the positive Goodreads review. I see it
Oh,
all as a compliment, but I love that people have been seeing themselves in these characters.
yeah. And I hope it was as therapeutic for your wife to hear that as writing this book. It sounds like it was for you.
Oh, it's not. She's still like she's like, I'm worried that when more people see me in the world, they're gonna be like, this is a misrepresentation. She's actually not that likable. But yeah,
Um,
we're gonna do a joint event
oh, really?
together pretty soon. We're gonna it's not like fully ironed out the details of it, but it is like confirmed. We're gonna do an end of June Pride event in
Okay.
Vermont. And she truly is a professional opera singer.
Yeah.
And I've based the voice of Ava off of like if she was a real voice, she'd be my wife's voice.
Hmm.
So she's gonna do like a book themed recital
Oh my
combined
gosh.
with a reading, and we're gonna do like a couples event.
Oh, that's amazing. Please promise that you'll share the details with us and we'll make sure I'll push it out there and try to help with publicity.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll push it out. It'll be super fun.
Uh,
It's gonna be like a pride event. So it's
Nice.
gonna be great.
So I'm realizing as we talk, I'm
Hmm.
leaning into to my role as a therapist, and I'm doing a good job as that. I'm doing
Oh,
a
I'm
bad
sorry.
job as a book interviewer because we've barely introduced the book.
I
Um,
yeah.
so I want to make sure people see this gorgeous friggin' cover, Decomposition Book by Sara Van Os. Um, where did this cover come from? Do you know the story of it?
Um, Not really, actually. I just think I got very lucky and had excellent cover designers in both the
Okay.
US and the UK. I told them pretty much, they asked me like what I didn't want, and I was like, please don't just have it be like a tent and then somebody staring wistfully into the distance. Uh,
Seen that before.
You know, I don't want like a wistfully into the middle distance cover, but
Mhm.
you know, anything cool and maybe a little bit gross or morbid or whatever that you can do might be fun, something woodsy.
Yeah.
And just kind of let them run with it. The only thing that I requested was actually that they draw me a mushroom on the first page of part two.
Okay.
So the mushroom on the first the introductory page of part two was because as you know there is an incident with a mushroom. Yeah, so the mushroom was the one thing I requested. But other than that, I kind of gave them free reign and
Okay.
I just got very lucky and they came back with beautiful covers. So,
Yeah. Well, props to Hanover Square Press. They did a fantastic job.
mhm.
Do you mind giving us just the Cliff Notes version? What is Decomposition Book about?
Yeah. So it goes back and forth between two women. One of them is dead. The dead woman's name is Ava, and the alive woman's name is Savannah. Savannah is a college student. She's a senior in college, who has gone through something traumatic and has OCD that is very freshly diagnosed and not really like she's not really treating it because she's adverse to most medication except for the fun ones.
Yeah,
Uh,
she's treating it just maybe in what we would call maladaptive ways
Yeah,
in our in
she's self-medicating it.
yes.
she's treating it how I did in college. But yeah, so
Mm.
she drinks an entire bottle of wine with an Ambien one night, and when you mix Ambien and wine, you don't really remember what happened. So she wakes up in the woods behind her house next to a dead body, and because she's very lonely, she decides to befriend that dead body, Ava, and read her journal about what happened to her while she was lost in the woods with her coworkers and how she ended up dead.
Oh, amazing. And the synopsis, we're not going to go into spoilers in this conversation and give stuff away, but I do want to just say the synopsis is captivating and it grabs you immediately. It also, in the best way, just like barely scratches the surface of like where the story goes and the themes that it digs into. Um, I picked it up pretty much sight unseen other than the description and just had no idea where the story was headed in the best possible way. It's just a fascinating journey. And such a mix of story types and themes, is it a mental health story? Is it a ghost story? Is it a love story? Is it, leaning into body horror and decomposition? Is it a survival story? Uh, when you were conceptualizing this book, did you have all of those disparate pieces in mind, or did it start off as a much simpler story and kind of grow and evolve?
No, I wanted it to be all of those stories.
Mm,
Kind of the thing with this book that I realized that I think is probably going to end up defining me as a writer
mhm,
is that I wanted to write a book that was like a bunch of books stitched together in like
mhm.
one super weird Franken book that was just crazy.
Yeah.
And I want to do that with every book.
Mhm,
But there's always like, I don't know, it was really hard to conceptualize and to fully stitch together. I am really, really happy with how it came out. But I definitely did just want to write all of those books, and I thought that it would be really fun to put like a physical survival story where
mhm.
what is being survived is very obvious, like the story of the people lost in the woods is like a story that we're culturally very used to, we
Yeah.
have Hatchet, we have Yellow Jackets, we have
Mhm,
um Island of the Blue Dolphins, like there's so many like kind of like in a place surviving narratives.
mhm.
And that is like what they're surviving is fairly obvious, right? They're trying to get out of the woods. But Savannah, like she doesn't really seem to be surviving anything.
Mhm,
Uh on the surface when you first meet her, she seems actually kind of fairly privileged and fine.
mhm,
She's in her rich parents' lake house. She's like a beautiful white girl. She's not like really hurting for anything,
mhm,
but she is surviving and she is surviving in her mind just as much as Ava is surviving in the woods, you know? And I think that like the point that I wanted to make by putting those two side by side is like you try to
mhm,
compare suffering and you can't. I wanted both stories to be survival stories and I wanted them to complement each other and also contribute to each other.
mhm.
And I wanted it to really just kind of show all of the different ways that we survive.
Yeah, absolutely. And that, yeah, you said it well. Like the survival part, the survival story is probably like on the surface the most straightforward part of the story.
Right.
Um, but and in some ways, if you just picked out any one component of your book, um, on its surface, a lot of them are like familiar themes or familiar plot points, but it's the way that you stitched it all together, the way that and not just literally, but thematically too. Again, won't go into spoilers, but obviously most survival stories have this question hanging over them of, will cannibalism come into play? Is that going to be a thing? And at least what I read into your book a lot was just this theme of consumption
Hmm.
throughout, both literal and figurative. Um, and just how all the different characters in some ways were like feeding off of each other.
Yeah.
Sometimes in very, very healthy and loving and beautiful ways, sometimes in
Mm.
really, really toxic ways. Um, and oh gosh, I feel like my full disclosure, my review, which you'll read at some point, I had to work really hard to just keep it as a review and not go off and just write a thesis on like the themes of cannibalism and consumption in queer horror.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming all of that was intentional, right? Because
Yes.
you sound like just a very, very thoughtful and very, very intelligent writer.
Thank you. Yeah, every word of this book was chosen, and I do mean every single word. Like everything was
Painstakingly
planned.
so, perhaps.
I, yeah, like there's like so much in it that's also like designed to be circular. There's so
Mhm.
much that's supposed to like fall back onto itself. And yeah, I was really, really careful with it. And I think that's part of like, it not being my first book
Mhm.
and wanting to make sure that like it I was stretching myself as far as I could go as a writer.
Mhm.
And I definitely think that I did that, but it just yeah, I wanted, especially because it's a mental health story,
Mhm.
and like a queer survival story and like about all of these things that are just very like near and dear to my heart as a person,
Yeah.
and really important to me. It's like I I I wanted it to be as thorough as it could be.
Yeah.
You
No, it
know what I
definitely
mean?
is. Yeah. I definitely want to talk about the queer nature of the book. Like
Yeah,
I'm a gay man and a lot of what I write at Macabre Daily is about queer horror. So I'm super fascinated by the intersection of those two worlds.
yeah.
Um, Generally I find that you can kind of fit things into two categories. One is it's just a straightforward horror story and the
Hmm.
characters just happen to be queer. I'm like, that's cool. I love that kind of representation. And then there's other stories where it's like, no, this story is queer through and through. Like this story, you could write it with straight people, but it wouldn't have the same pathos. It wouldn't have the themes would get lost and would not be as meaningful. I think I know the answer to this, but I'm not going to assume. Which side of that does your story fall into?
Um, I mean, my goal was to make it like the gayest. Uh,
You
so
succeeded.
yeah, I definitely wanted it to be like thoroughly queer. Like a lot of times, just like I feel like there isn't there isn't enough. I know there's more now, but like
Mhm.
there just like isn't enough for me in the horror genre that's like thoroughly queer and like
Even more is not enough, right? Like
yeah,
more
even
is
more is
just
not enough.
getting us back to baseline.
And I think that there's just like there's so much like gay people are so interesting. Like we're so fun. And there's so much inherently that is like a little tiny bit like thrown to the side of your
Mhm.
life. Like you're not it doesn't necessarily depending on where you live, I guess, but or what religion you are, but it doesn't necessarily have to mean like a big like falling out or like not everybody has the same coming out experience. Not everybody has the experience with like being gay.
Yeah.
And I kind of wanted to highlight a whole realm of different experiences in this
Mhm.
book. Like you've got a bi femme woman in there who is like, most people don't see her as queer,
Mhm.
but she is. Like, you've got that kind of experience. You've got Savannah, who is very feminine, but
Mhm.
is also like 100% gay.
Yeah.
Like, there's really no question about it in the book that she's like truly so gay. The only question about it is her OCD questioning it pretty much. Um,
I loved those discussions between her and her therapist, Hills, of trying to figure
Hills.
out, am I actually gay?
Yeah, I mean, I had many of those discussions with my Hills too when I
Mhm.
first came out because I was like, oh, like I didn't really like kissing like this girl, so maybe I'm not gay. And it's like you have OCD. But and then you have Ava who is like very established in her lesbianism. She knows who
Mhm.
she is. She has had a bad coming out experience because she comes from a very religious family who
Mhm.
are not accepting of who she is for the most part. And she is has been pretty isolated from like a lot of her community, but she's accepted who she is. She's grown into it. She's in her early 30s, you know, like you've got these really settled adults, and then you've got this kind of like flailing college student who's like, I don't know, like I'm probably gay, but I don't know what that means. I don't know who pays for the dates. Like I'm not I don't know.
Yes. And I loved
Yeah.
how you mentioned this with the mental health aspect, how a lot of the horror was grounded in the frightening experience of that. I think you did the same thing with the queer experiences. Like it's something that resonated a lot for me reading this. And I won't ask us to share personal details here, but
Mm.
I think most queer people can look back on maybe college years or high school years when they were first coming into their own, and like some of those early toxic, borderline obsessive relationships that we had, often with our straight or questioning or confusing friends. And it is truly the stuff. I mean, it's formative experiences, and we almost all have to go through it, but it's also nightmare fuel. And it's stuff that even in my 40s, if I think back to that really intensely, it will still send a shiver down my spine sometimes about how shitty those years were. And
Yeah.
you captured that so well in this book.
No, I mean, I did like, I wasn't in love with her, but I did have like a really toxic experience with an ex-best friend when I
Mhm.
was in college. And like, part of the reason this book was really important to me was that I saw it as vengeance. Um, I was like, I'm writing this out of spite
I
because
love it.
you
So much good
fucked
comes
me
from
up.
spite.
Yeah, because she fucked me up and she
Mhm.
knows what she did. And it's like, you know,
Mhm.
you have like in my experience too, like I had a lot of like experiences with like friendships where the other person knew how gay I was,
Mhm.
but I didn't know how gay I was.
Yeah.
And like you can use that. And I think that you see some of that with Michelle in the
Mhm.
book. Like you in like their relationship, the relationship between Michelle and Savannah. You definitely see that like there's like instances of Michelle using the OCD against her, and there's
Yes.
instances of Michelle using like the level of queerness that she knows is like within Savannah, like against her. And
Yes.
it's like that I think is also just a really common experience, like that really toxic homoerotic friendship where you've got one party that knows that the other person is really gay and is using it as kind of like a punishment, and the other party isn't fully out yet or isn't fully accepted
Mhm.
yet. And like and that oftentimes is like a very, like you said, foundational
Mhm.
but like horrific experience, and a lot of queer people experience that.
Yeah. And I think like the way you're describing it, that's something that not a lot of straight people, I think, understand the depths of it. Like they know they can understand the concept of like, oh yeah, maybe you had a crush on a straight friend when you were younger, but I don't think many people realize exactly as you said how many allegedly straight people
Mhm.
sometimes weaponize the
Yeah.
queerness of their young friends in a way that it's kind of hard not to read as malicious and intentional.
Yeah.
Um, I have a couple people I might send a copy of this book to from my past.
Yeah, no, right, exactly. And it's like sometimes even like with these like, especially because a lot of times you're dealing with children,
Mhm.
or I see college students pretty much as children at this point.
Oh yeah.
Like a lot of times like these things are happening to you when you're like in college or in high school where
Mhm.
you are a sexual being but you're also very young,
Mhm.
and you're like a little bit too young to be a sexual being.
Yeah.
But like hormones and whatnot, and everybody's like getting drunk and making mistakes, and nobody's brain is fully developed. So I think that like too, like it's like you also kind of have to like forgive the baby straights in it, which is really
Yeah.
shitty because it's like sometimes they grow up and realize what they did and
Mhm.
are better people, but like it's sometimes like also they have homophobic parents
Mhm.
or Republican parents or religious parents or whatever, and like you're influenced by what's in your house. And it's just these relationships that we have when we're young, like they're so complicated, but they're also so harmful because they're so just in the middle of you and they stay in the middle of you your whole life. Like you said, like you're still thinking on those times like, oh, and I still think about those friendships that I've had and I'm just like, Jesus Christ, like, and
Mhm.
it's a horrible thing to have to survive, and then it's also can be very lonely. Loneliness is a huge theme in this book, and
Mhm.
I think that you definitely touched on that where like you because a lot of times your straight friends don't understand these experiences, and because a lot of times when you're young, because of just like circumstances, most of your friends are straight, you don't have anywhere to go
Yeah.
after something like this happens to you. Like you don't like the year after something like this happened to me, I was just drinking too much pretty much.
Mhm.
Because I was like, I don't know what happened. I don't have a queer adult
Yeah.
to explain this to me. And I don't know, I don't have any friends that I can really go to and be like, this is what happened.
Mhm.
Because like your straight friends just can't fully understand that experience because they're never going to have it.
Yeah, for
They
sure.
don't live in the same world as you. And
This
I think
is,
that that's like a huge foundation of Savannah and Ava's relationship in the book is like Savannah is like, I need a queer adult. Like, I need
mhm.
somebody to go to with this that understands what it is.
Yeah, somebody, yeah, there's that. It's a loving relationship and also a mentor relationship in some ways of somebody who's a little bit further ahead in their life that can kind of tell you, yep, been there, you will be okay, we will be okay.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. This is a beautiful conversation. I love this.
Thank you.
And it just highlights like the beauty of your book, right? And what I'm always screaming from the rooftops about horror and any genre writing or movie making is that yeah, like if you just look at it on the surface, it's just like a weird story or a scary story or a fantasy story, sci-fi. But oh my
Mhm.
gosh, you start to like dig beneath the surface and these incredible conversations start to come from it. And I love talking to you about this, and I am sure that for so many people reading this book is gonna be that cathartic experience and is gonna hopefully jumpstart conversations amongst friend groups and between partners and maybe between people and their therapists that can be so healing.
Yeah, no, it's been really, really precious to me to watch those things start to happen, like to watch those things start to those conversations develop in like comment sections I've
Mm,
seen
yeah.
sometimes. I had somebody message me yesterday that like she's been through a big grief and like this book gave her like a different and like healing way to look at it.
Hmm.
And like that was really special to me, you know? Like I wanted it to be written in a way like I think this is another thing about like my writing style that is really important to me to get right is that I want it to be written in such a way that it's like it's not like super like purple prosy literary fictiony on the surface, you know.
Hmm.
I wanted it to be on the surface very straightforward and very easy for everybody to understand so that it
Yeah.
could reach a wider audience of people. um but then if you want to look at it further for like you cast that net wide and then you get people that are like actually really reading into it and seeing it as like seeing all of those things that I've kind of stashed in there. But it's like, yeah.
And to do all this in a book about a woman befriending a rotting corpse, like that's impressive.
Thank you. Yeah.
I kind of a random shift, but like I knew I had to and wanted to ask you about this. How much research did you have to do on the decomposition process of human bodies?
Oh, a lot. A lot. And I tried to do more. I tried to do more than I did. I was willing to get in there. I attempted to see if there was a good excuse to go to a body farm. Apparently, writing book about dead body is not a good enough excuse
Really?
to go to a body farm when I mean,
That's bullshit.
you
I'm
know
gonna
what?
say
I'm gonna try again in like 10 years when
it.
people know who I am, hopefully.
Don't even wait
Um,
10 years. Wait until this is like a bestseller in a year and then go back to them.
yeah, yeah, no, like I hope you're right because I really want a career. No,
Putting
I
it out there.
please. No, I tried to be a mortician as well.
Hmm.
But I can't drive
Okay.
because the OCD is like it's not, I shouldn't be on the streets.
Okay.
I failed my driver's test twice. The second time, I made every single critical error because
Mm.
my brain was eating me, and I basically crashed the car on the way out of the DMV. And then the guy went and found my mom and was like, "She shouldn't be on the streets."
Oh.
And I was like, "That's fair." And then I moved to New York instead. But
You picked the right city then.
yeah, yeah, because I'm from California, and when I go home, my little brother drives me around. But no, I tried. I applied to be a mortician many times, but they were like, "Do you have a driver's license? Because you
Hmm.
got to go pick up dead bodies in your car."
That
And
is
I was
fair.
like, "Damn, can I just help lift the dead body? Like, have somebody else drive? Like, I'm good with decomposition. Like, I'll help lift." And they were like, "No."
Oh,
So I
well,
did.
hopefully, at least like we got to at least get you like an internship or something, some sort
I
of
know.
apprenticeship.
I know. And like I've promised everybody officially that if my wife hates this, but I promised everybody officially that if anybody put me on the NYT at any point for this book in particular, I would go on Naked and Afraid because I've never been camping. Um and I am like such a like when you're watching the Olympics on your couch and like one of the figure skater falls and you're like pussy
I could
like
I
I
could do
could have
better than that.
you're like, oh my God, I can't believe you didn't land your triple axel. Ooh, I
Yeah.
would have landed my triple axel. That's me watching Naked and Afraid after writing this book, is that
Okay.
every time somebody taps out, I'm like, I could have done that. And my wife's like, you've never been camping. You can't. So I promised everybody that if I ever get on the NYT Best, I'm gonna go on Naked and Afraid. And I'm not tapping. I'm not
Oh,
tapping.
we're
Um,
gonna do our best to make that happen, and then you have to promise to come back and talk to us another time to debrief about your experience and let us know how the reality stacks up.
yeah, I'm gonna be like dead or something. No, it'd be me on Naked and Afraid would be really funny because I'd be off my meds on Naked and Afraid.
Oh,
So
they
it'd
don't.
just be me in like the middle of the night, like, I want to Google all my thought spirals, but I can't.
I will tune in for that episode.
Yeah, yeah. So
Um,
that was like, I didn't do any out in the woods research, but I did look at a lot of pictures of dead bodies. I watched, there's like a documentary called A Certain Kind of Death. I
okay.
don't know if you've watched it.
I have not.
It's like it's like horrifying. It's so scary, but it's also like so real. I think that was really important in my research of this book because they showed bodies in various states of decomposition, like just full
Okay.
corpses, and it was on YouTube. It's on YouTube. Um, but it's about the experience of dying alone.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
like nobody loves you, nobody knows you, and somebody just finds your corpse when it leaks into their apartment, like that kind of thing. And it's really, really bleak. And the whole documentary is just like about what they do with these bodies,
Mhm.
like these unloved, unhad bodies. And because like there are people that live like that and there are people that die like that. And it's such a
Mhm.
sad and like kind of heartbreaking documentary. And it's like
And
you know,
fascinating
they're
too.
just dumping ashes in mass graves, like with a bunch of cops, but they show like the states that a lot of these people are found in,
Hmm.
various states of decomposition. Like some of them are like fully bones when they're found, and some of them
Hmm.
are like liquidized in a shower or something. And it's like, oof. It's
Ah, The
a
human
haunting.
experience is a
Yeah.
rich and wacky tapestry.
Yeah, it's a haunting one, but that was one of the things that I watched for this book, and it's like definitely for the strong stomached. I
Mhm.
follow a lot of those crime scene cleaning accounts
Okay, yep.
where they've got like soft piano music and there's like a husk of like what used to be a person on a bed, you know?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
that's yeah, that those are the gross things that I did for this book, but I wish I could have been grosser.
Well, I love these anecdotes. Just if the book didn't already prove it, these anecdotes confirm that you are our people. You belong in the horror community.
I definitely do. Yeah, I'm very strong stomached, which is funny because my agent is really squeamish. So
Ah.
she was like, please, less corpse juice. And my editor was like, put it back.
Cowards, give us more.
Put the corpse juice back in, baby. So,
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah.
Well, Sarah, so as we wrap up,
Hmm.
I was trying to think of just kind of a fun question to end on, and if a book club was to pick up your book and read it and fall in love with it, um, what book would you recommend that they read next? What's something that you think would pair well with Decomposition Book?
Sky Daddy.
Sky Daddy, I don't know that one.
It's
Okay.
oh my God. Okay, it's so weird. I love it so much. It's not horror,
Okay.
and it's like definitely more in like the weird girl lit fic
Uh-huh.
category, but it's about this incredible woman named Linda who is
Mhm.
my patron saint. I fucking love Linda. She's
Okay.
so weird. And she is like sexually into planes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, she's got like an object sexuality, so she's like her sexuality is planes.
So it's like
Um,
Titan, but we're doing planes instead of
yeah,
cars.
she's
Okay.
also very like autism coded.
Mhm.
And she wants to marry a plane. And the
Okay.
way that she would like to marry a plane is that she would like to die in a plane crash
Mm.
and like have her and the plane be like melded as one. So the
So
whole
so
book is just
romantic.
yeah, so the whole book is like her like jacking off on planes and try to die in a plane crash and like
And this is a
she worked
novel?
yeah, it's a novel
Oh,
by Kate Folk, and
okay.
I've been seeing it around the weird girl lit circles, but I loved Linda. She was one of my favorites of the year, and I think that if you like a weird main character
Hmm.
who's doing weird shit, then Linda's the one. So
I
I
love it.
recommend that one.
Okay. Okay. So book clubs out there, Decomposition Book, and then Sky Daddy.
Sky
Uh,
Daddy.
that's why I love getting recommendations from people because you just get the most like random stuff that you would never stumble across.
Yeah, if you read it, let me know because it's
Uh,
definitely like she's a singular main character and the voice on that is just incredible.
oh, that's awesome. Well, Sarah, so thank you so much for talking to us. Again, we're talking about a decomposition book by Sara Van Os.
Mhm.
It's being published, it's being released on May 19th, correct?
Yep, in the US and May 7th in the UK. So the UK people are going to have it published without me. It's like, yeah,
Okay.
it's like I missed
Well,
a flight or something.
they're on,
I'm watching my plane. I'm like, wait.
they're on their own. Well, maybe Linda's on that plane.
Yeah,
She can be your surrogate over there.
Linda's going to crash it on the way to the UK.
With all of your books on it. Oh, well, that's so sad.
It's poetic, though. It's poetic. I'll take it.
So, yeah, so it comes out May 19th from Hanover Square Press. And
Hmm.
if Sarah, if you're someone who's interested in being found online, where could people find you?
You can find me at Sarah McClarinet on all things because when I was a child, I was a dedicated clarinetist. And that's when I made all of my handles. So, yeah, and I don't want to do that whole thing where I have like an author persona and a persona. That just
Mhm.
sounds exhausting. I'm just gonna be out here being me.
Definitely.
So yeah, if you want to find me, I am at Sarah McClarinet with two C's on all platforms.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, you're weird, and I say that in as the highest level of compliment. Weird people are my favorite people.
Thank you,
Uh,
me too.
Sarah, thank you, and everybody out in Macabre Daily World, thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you all soon.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It was so much fun.